I'd like to start by asking you and suggesting to you that it has been said that in the mid-60s you set up a series of sculptural situations of determined originality, abandoning any arrangement or process once it began to lose a particular identity and became identifiable as art. You also said that a floataway sculpture made in 1967 survives as a positive affirmation of the mental reality of sculpture and as a forceful negative as regards its material beauty. Well, I'd just like to say, why do you keep asking me and telling me the same bloody thing every time I'm interviewed by you? It's kind of becoming rather tedious. Well, I use that particular piece of information because I think it gives you a bit of gravitas. And I think you need all the gravitas you can get, quite frankly. Well, that may be the case. But could you not find something more interesting to ask me, like, for example, who your major influences were and things like that? Perhaps you could ask me who inspired me. Oh, I see you used the word inspire. Last time I interviewed you, you said you didn't suffer from a problem of inspiration. Yeah, that is true. It's a slight slip of the tongue, but yeah, I don't suffer from inspirational problems. No, not at all. Don't believe in inspiration. Well, what exactly do you believe in then? Do you always work the wrong way around? What do you mean by that remark? Well, you seem to have had a retrospective at the Tate in 1972, and now you're doing a print show in Ealing in the small gallery in 2016. Do you see this as a good career move, or? Well, yeah, I do actually, because it is the wrong way around. I believe in art history backwards, and so on and so forth. And I think it's very important to support people who support you. And, you can't always be at the wretched Tate Gallery. Oh, I see you've got some problem with the Tate Gallery. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. But I really, as this is being recorded, I really don't want to go into that now. But might you go on later on about that? Anyway, Let me start again, then, by asking you what you meant when you said that you were just as interested in Liberace as Barnett Newman. That's a difficult one, isn't it? Well, I'm kind of interested in the candelabra effect, and he did candelabras and funny suits, and Barnett Newman did paintings with zips in. Not trouser zips, but zips of colour. And I think there's something quite interesting in the different kind of cultural thing that Barnett Newman is the meanest, hardest, toughest American painter of all time, and Liberace changed his jacket 4 times during one piano solo, which I thought was very impressive. Didn't unzip his trousers, apparently, but he was accused of that sort of thing. Well, that's all very fascinating, I'm sure. But I don't know why I'm going through these notes, because I don't actually read anything on the damn things. So what can I possibly ask you now? I'd like to, another question is that I'd like to ask you who influenced you, who, if anybody, who was your major influence? Well, major influence was Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde? Sounds a bit like Liberace. No. Oscar Wilde and Johnny Ray, 2 major influences. For the reason that a lot of my work is based on the kind of thinking of Oscar Wilde. He wrote a fantastic poem called The Artist, a poem in prose called The Artist, which everyone ought to read, and that poem affected me considerably. And yeah, and also Johnny Ray, because he threw himself on his piano backwards, which kind of affected me throwing myself on a plinth backwards, although I didn't realize that at the time. My goodness me, that's absolutely fascinating. I never knew of such a thing. Johnny Ray and Oscar Wilde. What else about Oscar Wilde interests you? Well, Oscar Wilde said, well, one of the things he said a lot of things, but one of the things he said was the only serious thing in the world is art, and the only person that isn't serious is the artist. And I think that's the most amazing remark. 1864. Nothing much has happened since then, really. Anyway, now we're down in Ealing, the new Tate of the East, or the West. Tate of the West. And you're making a show of prints. I thought that you were supposed to be a pioneer of conceptual art, and I found this room full of bloody colour. It's in reds and pinks and blues. It doesn't look very conceptual to me. Conceptual art is mainly black and white, isn't it? Yes, and that's the problem. I mean, I was making sort of conceptual art, process art, body art, sort of stuff in the 60s, and typing a thing, I want to make a new sculpture piece. I want to do this piece. Well, you can spend 5 minutes and you made 300 pieces, and you say, that's a bit, what am I going to do for the rest of the day apart from go to the pub? We can't go to the pub all day. Well, you can do, and I probably did, but it's got a little boring, so I actually started fiddling around with colour, and I think it's quite important, using colour. There's a first conceptual art show, well, not the first, but one of the big first surveys of conceptual art was in the Kunsthalle Bern in 1969. It was called When Attitudes Become Form, Live in Your Head. And I was sent a copy of the catalogue. Beautiful catalogue. It was done with like a ring binder kind of thing. You could change the thing around like a thing. And it was all in black and white, except there was one colour photograph in this whole catalogue. And there's some American artists in my house at the time, some German artists, and they got into a terrible rage. They said, why has Bruce Nauman got a colour photograph and we've all got black and white? So somebody said, phone him up. I've got his number. He lives in Los Angeles. Phone him up. So we phoned up Bruce Nauman in Los Angeles, and I said, oh, hi, well, my name's Bruce McLean. You're Bruce Nauman? He said, yeah. And I said, why have you got a colour photograph? Some of your colleagues from America are here in my house. Wonder why you've got a colour photograph in the catalogue and everyone else is black and white. And he said, because I asked for it. A fantastic answer to a very good indeed. Found absolutely marvellous. I I must congratulate you. Very good. Any other kind of things you want to talk about? What about, you went from conceptual art into what is called posing. You formed a silent band which posed. Is this correct? Yeah, I moved out of the art world. I moved out of the art world. I'm not really interested in art, and I got a bit fed up with everyone's an artist, and I'm making this my new art. These are prints. The color prints. They are silkscreen prints. That's what they are. Art is another matter. Art is a 3-letter word. Jazz is a 4-letter word. Fuck is a 4-letter word. Rock is a 4-letter word. And punk is a 4-letter word. And pose is a 4-letter word. And I'm interested in not the art word, 3-letter word. It's confusing everything. Basically, I am a sculptor, and I see myself investigating the nature of sculpture in the 20th and 21st century through print, film, dancing, singing, whatever. But whether it's art or not, it's another matter. That's for time to tell, I think. There's too many people making stuff called art. Well, you've gone a bit serious. I thought you were a bit of a galoot and just fiddled about. Well, you don't seem to be so much of a galoot. Then you also say, did you say that it always ends with? Did you say it always ends with a photo? So why not start with a photo? Yeah, I did say that because the photograph has become the one thing which is transmitting as much information about other things as anything else. And I suddenly realized that if I did some action or anything, a painting or a drawing, well, it was photographed. And the photograph became the thing that people received and people got the information from. So I thought, why not just start with a photograph of your shoe or a piece of cheese or a potato or whatever it would be and stick it straight in the art magazine. You avoid the gallery. You cut the gallery right out. You just put this straight into the newspaper. That would be very good. Or if it's an action you're making or some live thing, if you have a photograph, you make the photograph, and then you don't have to worry about what you do conceptually behind the photograph. You can do what you like, as long as the photograph looks good. So that's why I said that. And I also am very, very impressed by a man called John Cooper Clarke, who said, if I could be anything, I would be a photograph. And I think that's the most interesting remark that anyone has made in the last 20 minutes. But good Lord. John Cooper Clarke, yeah, they're quite interesting. That the thing about the photograph is very interesting to me, and I actually would like to live in a photograph and most people could live in a photograph. I think there's a lot of talk about housing now, and there's not enough housing. There's not enough photographs. If people lived in a photograph, it's usually 2-dimensional. You could just put a hole in and put your head through it, and you could be in a mock Tudor photograph or a modern photograph or a Louis Barragan photograph. You could be any photograph you like. And I think it's a good idea. Put 2 photographs together. One on top, you've got a roof. Or, I think living in a photograph's the answer. I'll have a word with the housing committee about that, yeah. So, dear, where have we got to now? Well, you've been very, what shall I say, quite informative, not too silly, a bit sort of flippant as usual, and which you always get ticked off for, and I'm ticking you off for that. But I thank you for this short and very illuminating and rather peculiar interview. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's enough. Half an hour. That's enough.
Very good. Excellent.
That's all right. And I'll be selling raffle tickets.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Brian is the director of the gallery here, my new friend.
Thank you very much.
It's all right, Brian. Thank you. Cheers.
Please enjoy the exhibition as well. Thank you.
Yeah, oh please. Sorry.